Hi, I'm Joe.
I'm Tyler. Welcome to Industry News, Sony Hour Live Edition. It's neither an hour long, nor is it live, but it is about Sony.
We hate Microsoft. So Gravity Rush 2 was just delayed out of December and into 2017 for an early January 20th launch date. So that now means that every single Sony first-party title has been delayed in 2016.
This is getting absurd.
Well, I don't think it's not delayed because it's a bad game. They said specifically it's because of competition in the launch window, specifically Last Guardian, which is another Sony first-party game. So they put two of their own games in about the same week of each other. And then they said, oh, that's not gonna work out, so they took the one away. Because if they delayed Last Guardian again, that would be really something, right? How would you feel about that, Tyler?
that would be really something. I think the problem here is, it's just bad planning. It's just bad planning. You've got to like actually stagger your releases and get stuff done on time, I guess. I don't know what's going on, frankly.
Well, here's the thing, is this is now the third year where Sony has not had like a significant tentpole title for the winter. And Microsoft, they just had Gears come out. Gears is getting great reviews. I'm sure it's gonna sell great. Halo came out when it was supposed to in the winter. But anyway, it just shows that like Sony doesn't care about having their exclusives and big titles come out for Black Friday. Like, isn't that crazy?
You've got to get your big titles out for Black Friday.
But do they? Because they haven't been, but they're still leading ahead of Xbox One, and I think that's fascinating.
I think it's less of a title thing and more the platform itself. I think they're still being carried on the strength of PS4 as a console rather than any particular games for it. And it's just Sony's had a stranglehold on the market share ever since, and I think people are willing to overlook when they're lagging on their games releases just because of the strength of the console itself.
I would argue that the strength of a console comes from its library, though,
I
don't
mean,
you think?
I agree with you, but does the average consumer realize that?
Apparently not. That's not what the data says. And I can't fight the data.
Numbers don't lie.
Numbers don't lie, neither do I.
PSVR, it's happening. It's a real thing that is happening right now. It's $400. It's cheaper than the Vive. It's cheaper than Oculus. It's got a decent lineup of launch titles. It's got a couple of horror games. It's got a game that's basically Tank Wars. It's got Batman. This is real. This is happening.
It just launched. We're living in a VR future.
We have made it.
The VR future is now. Now I gotta tell you, Tyler, I'm totally with you. I actually think VR is a huge gimmick. I see it as not very different from the Wii. You know, you got those motion, you're playing tennis, playing baseball, you got a little bit of boxing in there.
That's what this whole...
I think it's like Kinect, or even, I've made the comparison to Rock Band, you know? I think it's just this fad that's gonna catch on, but people say this is like the future of video games. I don't want to see it like that. Like, I kind of see it as a future for video games, but saying it's like the future makes it sound like it's going to replace traditional gaming, and I don't want it to be like that, and I don't think it will be.
You are absolutely right. This entire cycle of VR is, in my opinion, pretty reminiscent of the whole, we've got the Wii, now we've got the Kinect, now we've got the Sony Move, or whatever it was called. PlayStation Move?
PlayStation Move.
PlayStation Move, that's what it was called. And just like with then, everybody was like, oh, PlayStation Move, it's the best, it's affordable,
No one was like that. I don't want to do some revisionist history here. No one was like that. No one liked the PlayStation Move, dude.
Now, I haven't used VR, so I can't speak to this, but it seems like VR like actually works and functions as intended.
Oh, it definitely does.
Yeah.
It's just the titles coming out right now are more like experiences instead of like full-on games.
And see, that's my concern. My concern is that the medium is more supportive of like experiences and individual moments than telling a cohesive story.
Talked about how it's like the third one on the floor again. I would actually say it's the first one on the floor when we're talking about the console space. Like, I think it's super relevant that Sony specifically is making these moves, as opposed to like Microsoft's not really doing anything. They've got that Oculus deal. They're going for that sort of augmented reality thing. We don't technically know what Nintendo's doing yet, but
for all we know, NX is VR.
Right, for all we know it is, but I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yeah.
I think the point is, while it is relevant to compare it to the other VR devices, I think it's definitely in sort of a realm of its own in the console space. And I think that's a big deal.
It is a big deal that it's first on the floor as far as like major game developers go.
This is like the entry point, you know, this is where sort of like the common people can get their hands on VR and get to finally experience it.
Yeah, and like I said, it's cheaper than the Vive, it's cheaper than the Rift.
$400 is still not that cheap, though.
It is
It's
not
worth
that
noting.
cheap, but I mean, neither was PS3, neither is any console.
It's true.
There is a big barrier to entry in like getting involved in video games at all, so honestly a $400 price point, especially compared to other VR headsets, is not that big a deal, in my opinion.
Sure, the people who want it are going to get it no matter what, for sure.
Yeah.
But then again, I would argue the people who want it, maybe they have a Vive already, you know? Maybe it's a contradiction, I don't know. Time will tell. Thanks so much for joining us for Industry News this week.
I've been Tyler.
I've been Joe.
And you know what? I think we got a lot of productive work done today. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go play Soul Calibur.
I'm not.